functional failures and failure modes.
From there, we go to step 2, which is functional failures. And then we go to step 3, which is identifying failure modes. Now, when I use the word failure mode, I'm talking about a failure cause. It's just another term for it. In other words, what specifically causes functional failure. So in step 3, we identify what could cause each functional failure that we have identified in our analysis. And when you write failure modes, it's really important to make sure that they're written properly and correctly. And that's one of the reasons why, if you're going to do reliability-centered maintenance, you have to make sure that you're trained properly, because failure modes have to be written at the right level and in the right amount of detail so that you can get to an appropriate failure management strategy. For example, we could say bearing seizes, but really that's a failure effect. It's not really a cause. There are all sorts of things that could cause a bearing to seize. It could just wear out due to normal use, or the grease could dissipate, or maybe it could be greased improperly, or maybe the bearing could be fitted improperly. So it could be any number of things. And that's why it's so important to, number one, identify the applicable failure modes, but also to write them properly. The other thing is that it's important to remember that, a lot of people will say you have to include every single failure mode in an analysis, but that's not true. RCM gives us very straightforward criteria for identifying which ones go into our analysis, and they include failure modes that have happened before, failure modes that have not happened but are a real possibility, failure modes that are unlikely to occur but have severe consequences, and any failure modes that we are currently managing with our proactive maintenance plan.
Let's talk about why writing failure modes is essential to achieving reliability goals. My mentor John Mowbray taught me that we manage physical assets at the failure mode level. That's why it's so important that we proactively identify what could cause each functional failure. Because then we use the remaining 4 steps of the RCM process to figure out what, if anything at all, we should do to manage them. Recall when we said that failure modes must be written at the right level, and they must be written in the right amount of detail. Let's look at why. Bearing seizes doesn't give us the details we need to make any meaningful decisions. It's way too broad. So we break it down into reasons that allow us to logically assign solutions. For example, because the bearing wears due to normal use, we may want to do vibration analysis. For grease dissipates, we'll grease the bearing on a scheduled basis. Greased improperly, we can improve bearing lubrication training. And installed improperly, we can revise installation instructions and training. This example illustrates why step 3 in the RCM process, writing failure modes, is so essential to achieving reliability goals. When failure modes are written too generically, you can't make meaningful decisions, and if they're written in too much detail, you can end up with analysis paralysis. All of this illustrates the point that we manage physical assets at the failure mode level.